Hello, my friends. Simon Miller here, and that's right. Today, we are just going to have a little bit of a chat, and it's an interesting chat too, and maybe one you weren't expecting. Because one of the most interesting messages I get a lot on my Instagram and Twitter at Simon316, cheap plug, and on my Patreon too, I'll plug that because this is where this one actually came from, patreon.com/Simon316. Probably shouldn't do that given the theme of the video, but I've just done it, so I've let myself down. Is the idea of mental health. Now, I used to make a lot of mental health type videos. The only reason I stopped doing them is because I didn't want them to become gratuitous. I didn't want people to think, oh, he's only making these because he's trying to tie into the topic of mental health, which can become a trending topic here and there. However, when I do get a lot of messages of people asking me to talk about it, eventually think, you know what, we can just make one video and we can talk about it. So I'm not going to say anything like, oh my gosh, I can't believe where that came from. But we're just going to talk about it. And hopefully if you are having a bad day, this video can serve as a pick-me-up. This video can serve as a source of positivity in your life. Or it can just serve as something you can watch and go, you know what, I am going to be all right. It's just going to take some time. Now, the first thing we have to address is if you are feeling this way, please do go and talk to someone. It could be somebody like me, a friend, a family member, or a professional if you really are struggling. But the most important thing you always have to remind yourself is that you have not done anything wrong. Let's look at it like this. There is, 7 billion people living on planet Earth. Do you really think it sounds realistic or within ratios that we can wake up every single day, all of these human beings walking around on this globe and feel brilliant, constantly? It's just not realistic. It's just never going to happen because everybody is going through something, be it a relationship problem, a work problem, a friendship problem, a money problem, and we could do this all day. Maybe all of your electronical goods are breaking down, and because of other things in your life, you're really struggling with it. Now, I am very touched when people get in touch with me. It's the worst sentence ever. And they say, oh, Simon, you're so positive. How do you live such a positive lifestyle, blah, blah. And positivity is just a state of mind. But it doesn't mean you don't wake up some days and think, man, I just feel down, or this sucks and that sucks. I mean, we can tie it into YouTube because that's where we are right now. I've had so many issues and trouble with YouTube over the last year or so, be it spam flagging or them just cutting my money off, meaning I had to make a fuss. It's quite clear something has happened to my channel. And realistically, it would probably be better off if I started a new one. Maybe I will and maybe I won't. But it does mean that my business, Simon Miller, stupid idea for a business, but it's true, I am my own business, is, I don't want to say suffering, because that's the wrong word, but in terms of year on year, if we talk business analytics, it's down, and it's down quite a lot. You then couple that up with the fact that the UK cost of living is through the roof right now. Everything costs a fortune. My food is just absolutely unreal. And yeah, I got some anxieties, I've got some worries. Once again, some days I wake up every day, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to talk about? How am I going to back this round? But it doesn't mean that when I sit down here to do these videos, I don't find a way to sort of take that positive vibe and throw it out to you. And that's not me putting on an act. That's not me trying to, I can't think of the right word, but externalize something that's not there. It's just my go-to, I suppose. That's my base level. Even when I do have all these worries going around in my head, I know that when I sit in front of a camera, it's the type of character that I want to project out there because I just think people will resonate with it better. And hopefully, as a mini side effect of that, maybe you feel a bit better and maybe I feel a little bit better too. But it doesn't mean that I or anybody else is walking through life just with a big smile on their face or feeling all warm and fuzzy in their tum-tum all of the time. It's just not true. It's why, to try and tie into this channel a little bit, one of the things that anybody will tell you to do if you do feel this way is to go to the gym. Because when you go to the gym, you get an endorphin release, right? You just do. So you start going to the gym, you start getting fit, that builds your confidence up, and confidence is always good for trying to find balance. But because you do actually get a chemical rush of feel-good chemicals, you want to go again, you want to go again. It's why some people can get addicted. It's why people get addicted to other chemicals, right? Like be it drugs or alcohol or whatever it may be. Because if you really are down on your luck and you really are down in the dumps and someone said, hey man, if you take this, it's going to make you feel better. If you really feel like there's nowhere else to go, of course you're going to take it. Why wouldn't you take it? And then one hit becomes 2 hits, and then you're having 10 hits, and all of a sudden it's not as effective as it once was because your body gets used to it, and it can be a really crazy spiral. It's the same with food. The reason people get so excited about eating junk food, for lack of a better term, or unhealthy food, is because your body and brain loves sugar. It absolutely loves it. It thinks it's great. So it gives you a dopamine hit. And when you get a dopamine hit, it makes you feel good. So you start to correlate the two together. So when you are feeling sad once again, you think, well, I'm going to eat a bunch of food because that will put a smile on my face. And it does, but it's not really the kind of thing you can hold on to long term, because ultimately as human beings, what we need to do is validate ourselves, right? We need to get internal self-worth, I believe it's called. And the reason internal self-worth is so important is it's something that you can do yourself, right? If you achieve this, no one can achieve it 100% of the time again, but if you can achieve this, you can then kind of walk around and feel a little bit more confident, a little bit self-assured, because you're happy with yourself, you know yourself, and you're comfortable in your own skin. Now, most people, I mean, no one just gets internal self-worth, right? But most people get external self-worth, which is right now if I bump into you and say, man, you're a great guy, I love you very much. You then use that to get through the day. The problem being if that's a Monday, then you get to a Tuesday, all of a sudden I'm not around to pay you a compliment. So you kind of fall down the well again. And it's perfectly natural and it's perfectly normal, to experience all of these things. So that's basically the idea of the video, is just to tell you you're being a human and you're allowed to go and get help for this. It's so cliched now, but if you break your leg, you go and see a doctor and they fix your leg. I don't like saying break your brain because I don't think it's breaking your brain. I think this is just how your brain works. It has, ironically for me, ups and downs. But if you do get to the point where you're having more downs than ups, that's why there's people out there who can help you and you can talk to them and they can talk to you and you can try and establish this. And I know the stereotype is there's something in your childhood that we must uncover. And that's probably true in 99% of cases as well. But it's not just going to be that. Sometimes it can just be the weight of the world that feels too much on your shoulders. And I've been there and you've been there. And even celebrities have been there. I mean, the one that I always go back to, and I always get his name wrong because there's another singer, but Chester Bennington of Linkin Park. Basically, there's another singer called Daniel Bedingfield, and it just completely screwed me up. But it's neither here nor there. I mean, as far as I was concerned, Linkin Park, when I was quite young, was one of the first sort of new metal bands I got into. I found 80s metal, and then I got into new metal for a bit. I never would have thought that he was going through such things, given that he was super successful. He'd lived his dream. He had a family. He had kids. But ultimately, there was something that he wasn't able to get past, and he did. I can't even imagine what he was going through or what his friends and family went through after the fact. I'm not here to judge or say anything like that. I'm just saying I can't even comprehend it all around. But if somebody that has achieved so much can wake up every day and feel that way, it stands to reason that we're all going to as well. So give yourself a break, pat yourself on the back, remind yourself that you're not alone. Again, go ahead, any kind of conversation that you do need to have, even if you just pop into the comments of this video and you have a chat with somebody else. We'll just use this because it makes it easier. It happens in real life too. If anybody down there says something ridiculous or like, oh man, you're weak, or stiff upper lip, or you can't cry. I hate that. Why do we have tears? We have tears for a reason. We are meant to cry as human beings, but that's on them. And they usually, what I find when people are so negative about this stuff, it's because they are going through their own trials and tribulations. They don't know how to handle it, so they lash out. That's why bullies do it. I think we've done a whole video on this. I was really badly bullied in school. I'm totally over it now. Not that I'd ever want to meet this guy ever again, but I can absolutely look back and realize he didn't have that many friends. He was very, very an isolated individual. So he clearly decided, well, a way that I can get my status in school, which is a horrible time because you're coming of age, is to sort of, have power over other people. And I was an easy target for one reason or another, potentially because I changed schools so many times. So I didn't have my own friendship group. And that doesn't leave certain people. So look, words, was it sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me, is the dumbest, the dumbest phrase ever. I think sometimes I'd rather my arm was broken than someone said something that really gets to me. And I remember the last time I said this on a What Culture video. Oh my gosh, some of the tweets I got, people go, oh, Simon is absolute. People need to be, shouldn't be so offended. You're allowed to be offended and you're allowed to be sensitive. And someone else can disagree with you and saying you're being too sensitive and you're being too offended. But that doesn't change the fact that you were. And of course, I totally agree that some people take that too far when it comes to mainstream comedy and mainstream culture. Different video for a different day. But when it comes to your mental health, there's nothing more important, because if you do have your mental health in a good place, everything just seems a little bit easier. Those relationships, those jobs, etc., etc. I will leave it there because I am ranting, but I don't want to say this is a thank you to people that have said nice words, but it certainly is me trying to give back whatever that could possibly be to the very, very nice folk that do drop me a line about those videos and say they still watch them from time to time. I think I called them Miller's Musings, which is the dumbest thing ever. But it helped me to talk about them, and if it helped you to hear them, then they're absolutely more than worth it. You know all the deal. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Description has stuff about me in it, should you want to support that way. I don't think this is the kind of video to do it, especially because I dropped it at the start, which was not a good idea. Hopefully, you appreciate that it comes from a good place. Otherwise, though, try and have the best day that you possibly can. And if you can't, dust yourself off, wake up tomorrow, and try again, right? That's all this is. It's all trial and error. We can tie it in again, which is much like the gym. We try a plan, it doesn't work. We try a diet, doesn't work. We try a different diet, we try a different plan. Eventually, we find our way for 8 months to a year. Oh, then we knock ourselves off again, and we have to kind of hit reset. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Every single person on the planet is doing it. So take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.